Hey YouTube, Gordon Miller here. Okay, so I get this question a lot on Quora, so I thought I would go ahead and make a video about this. And it's about how we taught our kids good finance habits and about money. My wife and I have 3 kids. Currently they're 17, 15, and 11. But we started our kids at age 6. So when they were in kindergarten and moving to first grade, we began by teaching them the value of money through an allowance. They would get $1 for every year old they are. So $1 a week for every year old they were. So when they were 5, they would receive $5. So we'd hand them out in ones. And then we went through what Dave Ramsey calls the envelope system, which is a great system. We separated the money with them into give, save, and spend. And so we took the $5, and we had these 3 separate. We didn't use envelopes. We used these big zipper bags like the pencil pouches in school. So we used these 3 envelopes, and they had they have a slip cover, so we were able to label them what they were. So every week they'd put something in the give, $1 into the give. They would put $1 into the save, and they would have $3 left they could do something with. And as they continued to get older, they would get $6 and then $7. And so, you know, at 5 years old, they were getting $5 a week. So in a month, they would have 20 bucks, and they would be able to spend 3 times. They would be able to spend 12. And but they'd also have $4 in give by that time, and $4 in save. And so we got to the point where at the end of the year, the kids would end up pulling out their money, and they would have $52 in the give and $52 in the save. And so we let them determine how much of what was in the save folder, how much was in the give folder they wanted to give and where they wanted to give it to. So, you know, some of the kids gave it to the church, some gave it to the programs to help buy toys for other kids who didn't have, you know, toys at Christmas and stuff like that. So, you know, I mean, it was nice. I mean, it was a great opportunity for them to kind of understand about money. And so in some cases, we required them to give at least half. So if they had $52 or $50, then they had to give half at least. They could put the other $25 into savings if they wanted to. So they had an option of how much to give. Because, you know, we talk about being able to give, you want to give 10% of your income, but if you're making $5, you can't give 50 cents. So we had them save it and then give half of it, so they're giving 10% of their income basically. So that's all we wanted them to do, is understand 10%. So that also meant that they were saving another 20, 25, 30%, because of the way it was set up that way. So it was, it was pretty good. So it worked out all right. For the longest time, they would save up, after a year or so, or with birthday and Christmas money and stuff like that they got from the grandparents, then they'd be able to go buy something, And so when you're 5 or 6 and, you get, $50 at Christmas and you get, $50 for your birthday and stuff like that. I mean, they had $50 they had saved on their own, plus part of the give amount. So, we got 5 and 6 year olds with $150. And so they're going nuts. I mean, they're like, wow. And so we taught them the value of it early on. I mean, when you have a lot of money like that at that age, which, I mean, $154 is a lot of money even to some 40-year-olds. So when you're, 6 and you've got over $150 in your save folder, then, okay. And, So the kids finally got to the point where they couldn't spend it. They had nothing left. We let them get to the saturation point where there's nothing left they could spend it on. They were like, and when they would collect 1 week's allowance and they weren't able to spend all their spend money before they got more spend money. And then, they couldn't figure out what to buy after that, and they got more spend money and more save money. And after a while, they came to us and they're just like, there's nothing else that I really want. And they're like, okay, so what are you going to do with it? Well, I guess I'll just save it all. Well, there you go. So, they ended up getting to a point, usually about the time they're 10 or 10 or 11, they had more money than they knew what to do with, literally. And it really wasn't all that much money. But it was to them because they're like, they didn't have to buy Xboxes. I mean, they spent a lot of money on video games and stuff like that. So games are like $60. So, that can blow through some money pretty quickly. But, they got most of the games they wanted for Christmas or their birthdays or stuff like that. So, they didn't really have any kind of real, expenditure for that. So they saved it. And my 11-year-old right now has about $2,000 in his bank account because he's 11 and he doesn't know what to do with the money. He's got so much money he saved that he doesn't know what to do with it. So, it's nice when you can take them through that exercise and you can instill in them a sense of responsibility when it comes to money. Ironically, my youngest, who's 11, when he was going to kindergarten at age 5, he was taking the math test, and his teacher was trying to find out what everybody's general level of math capability was. And so she said, well, he scored normal, average, in almost every category. And I said, oh, yeah? Oh, what did he do poorly in? She's like, oh, no. It's the money category that most kids do lousy on. He got 100. So I was like, well, that's because we've taught them about money since, they were 5 years, since they turned 5. So, by the time he went to kindergarten, then 4 or 5 months later, he knew how to count money. And so that's been a benefit for them. But, getting to that point where they don't know what to do with the money, and they end up having to save it. They've gotten it out of their system that I'm going to spend a bunch of money and blow money on this or blow money on that. And, it's the kind of the place you have to get them to. So what my wife and I did after that was, once they get to the point where they know how to give and they know how to save and they've spent till they can't spend anymore, they really run out of stuff to buy by about age 10 or 11, we then get them started on their own business. This is another question that I answered on Quora. My oldest son was helping people move, and they were paying him $5 an hour. He'd work for 5 hours moving boxes and stuff like that for businesses that were moving in the business park where we are in Innsbruck. And so, but I mean, he made $25 in 5 hours, at 10 years old, and he realized that, okay, I'm 10, I'm going to get an allowance this week of $10. Next week, I'll get an allowance of $10. Next week, next week, I'll get another $10. So it was going to take him over half a month to make the allowance, just sitting on his ass doing nothing but playing video games. But if he got out there and hustled and moved some boxes for 5 hours, he could make $25 in half a day. And that's the kind of reality that sets in, when you have your kids have their own business and they're doing something to make money. And that's something that stays with them, that becomes part of them. And so what we've done is that realization, you see that kind of light bulb go off where they're like, oh my God, if I don't just sit around on my ass, but I get out there and get something done, I can make a shit ton more money. Yeah, that's right. And so we give them that, we give them that opportunity to learn that on their own. and that was great. My middle son did the same thing. He asked for a snow cone machine for his birthday, which is in May, and then opened up his snow cone stand the day after his birthday. We went and got the fixings, and we spent $3 on fixings and ice, and he came, set up in the driveway and charged kids in the neighborhood $1 for a snow cone, and real sugar and flavoring and everything else, high quality syrup that he made, but because he made it and we made it ourselves, it didn't cost a whole bunch of money. It tasted great too, man. I was the first customer. He even has his first dollar that he made that I framed because I signed it, and I framed it for him so that he'd always have his first dollar. But that day he sold out in a couple of hours, 2 hours. So in 2 hours he made 33 snow cones, and before he ran out of supplies. And so he made 33 snow cones at $1 a piece with $3 of supplies. So he made a gross margin, or actually a net margin because he doesn't have any other expenses. It's a net margin of $30 off of 33. So it's still like the highest net margin of any business I've ever invested in. Giving him the $3, loaning him the $3 until he made his money back. So I gave him a $3 loan, and he sold 33 snow cones, repaid me the $3, and kept the 30. And he got to spend, he could save or spend or give however much of that he wanted to, because we were focused on the allowance part, not the other stuff. So, but for him, he was 10, and again, he, doing the math is like, wow, I can sit on my ass for 3 weeks and make $30, or I can make $30 in 2 hours. I mean, what 11-year-old, 10 or 11-year-old do you know that makes $15 an hour? And people are out there screaming, in their 20s and 30s, going, we want $15 an hour, raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Man, my 11-year-old was making $15 an hour at 11. It's not that hard. It just isn't. You've got to have, the kind of drive and determination it takes to do that. You can't force an entire fast food industry to pay $15 an hour to people when ultimately they're just going to replace all those cashiers with robots or electronic ordering systems, and you guys are going to all be out of a job anyway. So and it's funny, that whole $15 an hour thing really kind of forced that. So it was a bad strategy from the beginning. Just politically and economically and everything, it was just terrible. It accelerated the electronic ordering systems by probably close to 3 or 5 years. But anyway, but that's what we did with our kids. We taught them about money early on, 5th grade, or not 5th grade, but 5 years old. Heading into kindergarten, they already knew how to count money. By the time they got to 10 or 11, they were wiped out. They were done. They had no desire to spend anything else. So that's when we went ahead and got them into their own business. And then after their own business, when they were 15, we're starting now with our second son, and our first one's already did this. We give them $5,000 to invest in their own stocks, and we teach them how to trade stocks. Actually, we don't do an index fund. We actually want them to have an experience of either succeeding or failing based on individual stocks. Well, my oldest picked Netflix, Under Armour, and Apple back when they were low as hell, and they tripled. So he turned $5,000 into 15 in 14 months, something like that. So it was incredible because now that money went to the car, and so he did amazingly well. But that kind of thing, it doesn't always happen. But the goal is that they can either turn the 5,000 into 15,000 like my oldest did, or even if they lose it all, the idea is okay, you picked a stock, you pick when to get in, when to get out. So, you know, it's up to you to figure out what that is. So anyway, I'm running out of battery power and hard drive space here. So much for my phone. Anyway, thank you guys very much. I hope this has been helpful. And so remember, allowance, 3-folder system, have them work so 5 years old, allowance, 10, 11, start a business, 14, 15, start investing in stocks. And it's a great experience for them. And that's what taught our kids all about money. Thanks.